All right, guys, welcome back to the Clack Shack. Finally got caught up on some things. If you're not aware, spent the past couple of days helping some of my neighbors in nearby communities with some storm recovery. Had to work a little bit late the other day, so hadn't been a whole lot going on at the Clack Shack this week. But today, I've got a little time off today, tomorrow, and I've even got a Monday off this week. So hopefully I'll be able to get some stuff done. One thing that is on my agenda today, I'm going to be doing a little project for myself. Went to Home Depot today to pick up some lumber for some stove covers because I got like 6 of those on order that I got to get completed. And while I was there, me and Bull have been having we try to keep a notepad with what jobs need to be done and what we've got ordered and all that. And it's just hard to keep up with that little piece of paper. So I was sitting in the shop the other day thinking to myself, I need to come up with a system somewhere that I can write this stuff down that's out of the way. But of course, you know that space is a premium here at the shack. So I didn't really have anywhere big on the walls that I could do anything, but then it hit me. I don't have anything on my door, on the back of my door. So while I was at Home Depot, I found this 2 foot by 4 foot sheet of dry erase board material. It's chalkboard on one side, dry erase on the other. And it was only $8. So if I go buy a 2 foot by 4 foot dry erase board, it's going to cost me a lot more than $8. So I bought the material, and I had some dry erase pens already. So I've took and tested it, and it is, in fact, it does work with my dry erase pens, and it's going to work great. So the next step of what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make me a little frame. This is some beetle kill pine. I'm going to be building a frame for this guy, and then I'm going to screw it to the back of the door. That way we can keep up with the jobs that we have. It'll be out of the way. Hopefully nobody bumping up against it and erasing jobs or anything like that. But that's going to be the project for today. And if that's something you're interested in, stick around. All right, guys, as most of you know, I don't generally go by a plan per se. So what I did is basically I have found myself a piece of wood that is the length or a little bit over the length of my material. Now, this is beetle kill pine. This is in my shack, so I'm not really, I don't want to go for that furniture grade look. I want it to look like the rest of the stuff in here. So what I'm going to do, because the material is barely longer than what I've got here to work with on my sheet, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a square frame, like a farmhouse style frame. I'm not going to do the 45s. I'm just going to do a farmhouse style frame, blue. So in order to get enough material to do this out of this one board, so I don't have to go looking for another one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these into just 1-inch squares, basically. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to set my fence on these. I'm just going to set my fence to 1 inch and go from there. I almost put it up without a frame, but I figured, hey, it's a woodworking shop. Kind of needs a frame. So I'm going to set my gauge to just right there at 1 inch, because that's all I really need is just a decorative frame, something to hide the edges of that material. Did have a little incident with going across the parking lot, and the wind caught it, and it hit the ground, so it kind of skinned up one corner of it. So this'll hide those skint marks. All right, so now I got me 4 equally sized pieces of wood. I can go forward with making my frame. Like I said, these are almost square, which is what I wanted. And the idea here is they're going to sit like that. I'm going to have one on this side here, and then these 2 pieces here will go around these corners. What I'm going to end up doing, and one reason why I only went with a 1-inch frame, is because I want to be able to make me a little lip to hold the pins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut another little piece of wood and just put me a little trough across here. That piece is probably going to get engraved from the laser engraver with a logo, and I'm probably going to do one up top just to decorate it up. But this is plenty of room to hold these little dry erase pencils or pens, markers, whatever you call them. And so I'm going to do me a little design there. I've even thought about trying to cut myself a piece to where I can sit these guys up long ways. And I haven't ruled that out, but that just seems like a little more trouble than I want to go through. Because technically, I could just take a drill and drill a hole in this piece of wood or another, and that would work as well. So we're going to play that by ear, and I'll figure that out when I get there. All right, one of my problems that I have here in the shack, of course, is things are getting crowded. So before I can use my router table, I have to make sure to take the fence off of my table saw so that my material can go out across the top of it. And I also have to make sure I don't have anything sitting too close on this end. So the way I do that is I just put the material up there on either side of the bit just to confirm that I've got enough room to work. So hopefully one day I'll have more room. But let's go ahead and knock these out. I'm gonna be putting that on the wider side of all these boards, which I think they're almost square. I thought that was 3/4 inch stock, but I think it was 1 inch stock. Yes, these are actually 1 by 1. So it really doesn't matter which side I put the cut on. So here we go. Kind of hold things still. I'm going to use these clamps, and I'm just going to pull this out here where I can get to it. You learn a lot of these little tricks when you're working by yourself. And I'm going to take the clamps and just kind of make sure it's all the way up against the edge here. And I'm going to clamp this right there so that it doesn't move. All right, I'm going to do the same thing over here, just until I can get me a good measurement. And once I get me a good measurement and get everything rolling, I'll be good from there. Somebody done set that one to a little tight. All right, so there we go. So that's got my two sideboards. That is where they are going to be for this build. So now I've got to figure out exactly how wide I need my pieces to go on this end where I get everything lined up and start putting it together. All right, guys, so I've got everything kind of laid out. I've got to cut one more of these for the other end to finish it out, but it is coming together nicely. And I'm gonna be using my little staple gun. I was gonna use brads, but I think staples will hold better. This wood's kind of thin, so I don't want to go breaking anything. And if I could use that piece and save this one for another project. Plus, from my experience, the staples are a little more controllable in this thin material to keep them from coming through. So I'm gonna go with staples for this one. A little bit of glue and some staples. All right, so I'm going to turn this thing around and do the other end before I change my staples out to the shorter ones to attach the material to the frame. My material was almost too small. Luckily, I'm not really going for major cosmetics on this. All right, so on this back side, I'm gonna take and I'm gonna swap over to some smaller staples. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna staple through this material into my frame just to hold everything together. Got a bunch of little piece of there we go. So yeah, I'm just going to staple around the edges now because by making the frame, I kind of left myself enough room that I could staple this guy. And there we go. Should be good to go now. And got myself a rustic, cool little dry erase board now. So I'm gonna go ahead, before I put anything else on it, I'm gonna be mounting it to the door. And because I'm gonna drill holes in this and use this piece I'm actually going to screw into the door. It's a shop door, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna measure and mark me some spots here. This is 4 foot tall. So I'm gonna put me a screw at about 2 inches on this side. And I'm gonna run down here to about 2 foot and put me one there. And then I'm gonna put one 2 inches from this end, which will be about 46. And that ought to hold this thing securely to the door. And we will have us a place to write down jobs and keep track of things that won't go anywhere. That's the plan anyway. All right, guys, so I got the basic frame laid out. I got the screw holes drilled. Went ahead and drilled the holes all the way through the material so that it doesn't split my little 2x or my 1x, as well as it doesn't break any chunks off of the material that the dry erase board is made off of. So now I'm going to move it over to the door. Go ahead and get me some screws and put this thing through to the door. And I'm probably going to use some metal drilling screws because it is a metal clad door, and I doubt there's any wood inside there. So I'm going to use some pre-drilled, some self-drilling metal screws. All right, guys, I changed my mind on the screws because I don't have any self-drilling screws long enough, but luckily I did have some metal roofing screws, so I took the little sealer off of them, and I'm just going to use these guys because it is a metal clad door. Maybe they'll hold better than any kind of wood screws or anything like that, and if not, then we'll break out the liquid nails and it'll stay for sure. But as you can see, I have used my clamps again because, like I said, a one-man operation, clamps are your friend. I've got it clamped off. I used my level as kind of a gauge to keep me 2 inches off the top of the door. The only thing that I'm not really going to be able to do, I don't want to get it so close to the doorknob that your thumb hits it. So I slid it over and kind of cheated it over a ways. And I can't get too far back this way because it'll hit the wall. So it's going to mess with my OCD just a little bit, but that looks like the best place for it to be. The door is level, and this is level with the door. So I'm going to call that's where it's got to go, because I don't want to obstruct my locks here, and I can't go too far this way to go to one side or the other. So that's going to work. All right, guys, I found me a little piece of wood that I had already thrown in my scrap pile. So this little piece is going to go as kind of my pencil tray. And I'm just going to even it up with the bottom edge of this existing board. I'm going to shoot a few staples through it, and that should hold it up there for holding in pencils or markers. There we go. Let me see if my little tray works the way I intended it to. Yes, it does. So here we go. There we are. It works, guys. Bull's going to be a lot happier now that we're going to have a way that we can write things down so that I'll know which jobs he's completed and he'll know which jobs need to be done that I haven't completed. This is going to be a lot better. All right, guys, got it done. Here it is. My own little DIY dry erase board, and it's on the door, which is one of those few places that I really can't store anything or hang anything. I don't have to worry about it coming off. My design is awesome. It doesn't go anywhere. Even my markers are easily accessible. This piece of wood was in the scrap pile, but I had used it to test a rounding bit that on some plaques or something that I was doing. And so it had a rounded edge already on it right here. That was a win. Didn't have to change the router bit out to do that. I did find 2 of these in the shop. I'm not sure exactly why I had them, but I already had these guys. So didn't have to purchase those. Now I have a fully functioning to-do list. And while we're standing here, guys, I don't know if anybody's ever noticed this. This is some seriously antique Clack Shack builds right here. It used to have wooden dowels in there years ago. I actually built this back in about 1991 in shop class. And I should have seen the writing on the wall, because if you notice, this is engraved, but it was done using a handheld router, as well as, of course, my Clack Shack sign on the front of the building that's been there for a few years. But this was 1991 ag shop build there. So just thought I'd share that while we were standing here in case you saw it in the frame. But now I have a place to write everything down, and I only got $8 in the whole thing. So that's a win for me. No way I could have found a dry erase board that big for $8 anywhere. And it works great. So there you have it. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, not nothing too intense, but it was one of those things that I needed in the shop. I wanted to buy it, but if you start searching for dry erase boards already made, it gets a little crazy. The prices were out the roof, and I couldn't find one that was shaped the way I needed it to shape. Most of them are wide, and they're not very tall, and that didn't bode well for my door. Putting it on the back of the door, and then if I did mount it, turn one that was long, turn it up to where it would fit on the door, then the tray would have just dumped my markers out. So I decided to go ahead and customize my own when I found out that I could get the sheet of material for a 2x4 sheet of material for $8. It's a win in my book. And now no more of trying to keep up with sheets of notebook paper. So I hope you liked the video. Hope this works for you guys. Just trying to get some of my own stuff done now since I'm kind of caught up on stove covers. Got a few on order, but hopefully next week, if I don't get around to them this weekend, Bull can finish those up. He's going to be out in the shop working, so shouldn't be any problem there. But until next time, guys, as always, be safe and have a good day.